Welcome to AW360 Live at Advertising Week New York. I'm BJ Smith. I have Andy Stevens with Clear Channel Outdoor. Welcome. How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
It's good to see you. So we were just talking with your colleague Wade Rifkin about some of the things that he's in programmatic, and the first question out of my mind, off the top of my head, was how does programmatic relate to outdoor? How do you make those two combine together? And I see you're the SVP of Research and Insights, so you're actually dealing with crunching a lot of this data and finding the data points, is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. And with reference to your experience with Wade, I certainly got a few sideways glances from some of my old ad tech colleagues when I moved over to Out of Home a few years ago with a big plan to start using data. So
and they're all scratching their head like, how do you use
people are like, outdoor, really? But actually we've been making some really good strides in the data landscape.
What are some of the challenges with outdoor when you're dealing with ad tech?
I mean, the opportunity that we had a few years ago, and the reason I joined Clear Channel was, outdoor has some inherent benefits. It's the largest advertising screen, it's unskippable, so there aren't the problems with ad fraud that people worry about in the online world. But the biggest reason people have for not necessarily buying it is that there wasn't enough targeting, there wasn't enough measurability, all of these technologies that have been so transformative in the online space, and marketers have come to rely on them. If you can't justify where your dollars are being spent, then you're not going to spend it on that. You have to be able to back up your ROI. And so what we decided to do was use some of the methodologies that have driven technological advances in digital in out of home. And what was really the enabler for that has been mobile location data. So we're all kind of carrying around these homing devices, which do all sorts of things for us. They're our personal devices, they've got our contacts, our pictures, our email, but they also tell you where a person is. And so by aggregating that data, all anonymized obviously, we can start to understand who are the people going past billboards. And from there we can start to do interesting stuff with that. We can profile them, so we can look at what else they do, what stores do they go to, what entertainment venues do they go to. And so we now have a much more detailed behavioral picture of who's seeing our boards. And then of course in the same way, once you know who's seen an ad, you can then say, what did they do afterwards? Did they actually go and buy something at my store? So it's kind of using mobile location data to bring out of home into that digital data ecosystem and all the benefits that come with it.
And to me that's a little mystifying. I'm curious, how do we get the data on our phones to you, because I'm not going out and I'm not downloading the Clear Channel Outdoor app, right?
Yeah.
So how are you guys collecting that data?
It's kind of interesting. Again, the word ecosystem comes out. When I describe what we do, sometimes people get this impression that we're somehow sniffing out mobile devices from our billboards, which we're absolutely not doing. We're actually just tapping into the existing ecosystem of location data that's already out there. So there's already tons of mobile ad networks and DSPs that are transacting every day with geo-targeted mobile ads. That's how you get an ad when you're in New York that tells you to go see a show that night. And so by tapping into that data, basically by buying that data in its anonymous and aggregated form, we can then tie it back to our billboards. So we don't need any opt-in to an app. Just using a phone and being able to receive advertising through that phone means that we can use that data for outdoor as well.
I think so many people are still thinking back to the way it was in the early days of mobile, when there was a big question about attribution.
Right.
They would say that, okay, it's easy for me as a marketer to figure out who has come to my website.
Right.
I can look at that, I can put a cookie on that computer.
Yep.
But the question for the longest time was, how do I get them from that computer at their office to the one at their house?
Right.
And now they have a phone in their hand, and now they have a tablet, and how do I bring those all together? But as you're saying, it's no longer this one website places this one cookie. It's all of these companies sharing that data together to make everything better.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think mobile location data has been, obviously it's been very transformative for us because it's finally getting us into that data world. But it actually helps link together lots of other data sources, because through a phone you can get an idea of where a device lives and then link that to other devices in that area. And it's all kind of matched together through anonymous identifiers and actually allows advertisers to have a much better multi-channel picture of who people are. Moreover, it actually allows us to link in different types of actions. So in the past, we could link a banner ad to a website. So great if you're an e-commerce retailer. But what about if what you buy is actually offline?
Right.
And actually 85% of what we buy is offline. Now with mobile location data, we can say that we can see that somebody went to a store. So we can actually link an impression, whether that's a billboard or a mobile ad or a banner ad, to a store visit. So we can now see if they went to that store as well. So it's not only opening up and linking together more channels, it's opening up more metrics and more ways to measure as well.
Is it as simple as I'm driving by the billboard, the digital billboard that just showed me an ad for this restaurant that is 2 blocks away, and then it recognizes that I just drove by there, and then now I'm sitting at the drive-thru?
It doesn't actually need to be a digital billboard. It can be a printed one as well. It just needs to be in one
So that's
location.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so any of our billboards across the country, if a device goes past it and then subsequently goes to a store, we can measure that. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So what are you planning for in the future? What is in the works that's kind of exciting to you that you can tell us about?
That
you can disclose.
Yeah.
Remember that form you signed before you? No, I'm just kidding.
We're not sharing that anywhere. No, our goal is really twofold. One, we want to give advertisers more ability to use their own audiences. So increasingly when we speak to big brands, they put huge investments in building their own DMPs with very detailed profiles of their customers. What we're trying to do is now allow those advertisers to directly match to the radar panel so we can tell them which billboards best reach their target audience. They've now got a completely customized out-of-home plan in the same ways they're used to doing in the digital space. And then from there, the flip side is allowing our radar panelists to link into more metrics. So we can show who's exposed, but then we can link that to another data set to say all sorts of other interesting things like what did they buy offline or what TV shows did they watch. And there are all sorts of interesting new types of data coming through. Listening data, I think, is going to be a really big thing in the future. You know, stuff from the microphone of the phone. You can tell which movie people are watching or what TV show they're watching. There's lots of interesting applications, all privacy compliant.
Yeah, I was about to say that. There's a little bit, you know, what are we listening to, or what kind of conversations are we having? You got to be careful with that one there.
Yeah, I mean, we take privacy very seriously. I think any case where you're accessing customer data to help you create an experience with them, you have to be sensitive to their privacy needs, and we only work with clients that are, you know, have very clear opt-in policies, you know, are compliant with all regulations. I think usually where there's some kind of value exchange, people are okay with it, and as long as it's declared up front.
Sure, great. Well, Andy Stevens from Clear Channel Outdoor, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks very much.
Enjoyed it. And we will be back with more AW360 Live at Advertising Week.